There's a wonderful new biography of Marquis de Lafayette by Laura Auricchio, Auricchio, which is called The Marquis. And it really is worth reading. It's a fabulous book because it's really a twofer. It gives you a wonderful insight into the American Revolution, where Lafayette was, of course, a key player, and then the French Revolution, where Lafayette was also a very key player. In fact, the original leader of the revolution, who was toppled 2 years into it, but still maintained considerable influence. So in this video, I'd like to discuss the American part of Lafayette's role. Lafayette was an immensely wealthy person, one of the richest people in France. He inherited some considerable amount of money and lands, but then he married one of the richest women in the country. And it was a love match. It was a wonderful marriage and lasted until 1807 when she died. Lafayette was born about in the 1750s, I think 1755. Lafayette was very wealthy, but he tended to be frowned upon at court. And he was not one of the in players at Louis XVI's court. And as such, he was constantly hungering for recognition. He wanted to be a great military commander. He wanted to be one of the commanders of the army. And Louis wouldn't let him, and nor would the leaders at court. So when the American Revolution broke out, Lafayette, who had had considerable military training in school, but no combat experience, went to the United States and fought in the American Revolution. And his contribution on the battlefield was significant. He commanded in a large part of the army that received Cornwallis's surrender in Virginia at Yorktown. And in the 6 or 8 months before that, commanded the American harassment of Cornwallis in Virginia that ultimately forced the British commander into the Yorktown Peninsula that proved to be his doom when the French Navy sealed it off and the American army under Lafayette, joined by the French army under Rochambeau and Washington's army, fenced Cornwallis in and led to the surrender that gave us our freedom. But his major role was really as a spokesman for the United States in Paris. When he returned to Paris in the middle of the American Revolution and spent a year or two there, he was feted all over as the guy who really had helped create the American Revolution. And the French loved the American Revolution, partially because they were falling in love with freedom and democracy through Voltaire and other Enlightenment writers, but partially because they just wanted to get even with Britain, that had defeated and humiliated France in the 7 Years' War and took all of Canada away from the French and made it part of the British Empire. So there was no love lost there, and the French loved anybody who was humiliating the British army. And Lafayette was a hero, and he increasingly made it fashionable in the salons of Paris to root for the American Revolution. When Ben Franklin came over and was our official emissary to Paris, he and Lafayette worked very closely together to create a climate of opinion that ultimately led Louis XVI to a significant financial investment in the American Revolution, providing us with almost all of our weaponry at the start, and then eventually sending his fleet and a considerable army to America, playing a huge role in the liberation of our country. So Lafayette was, in a sense, an ambassador to both countries. He was wildly popular in the United States. He played a key role in disciplining Washington's army. He was with Washington in Valley Forge in that horrible winter, and he and Baron von Steuben, the German commander, really worked at creating and succeeded in creating a disciplined military force out of the largely rabble that constituted Washington's army until then. And after that, the British army began to find it impossible to defeat the American army in the same way that they had before. And in a series of pitched battles all up and down New Jersey, the American army gave a very good account of itself. So that's the first part of Lafayette's biography. Next week, we'll look at Lafayette and the French Revolution, which is a considerably different story. Thanks for watching.